each human being is a spiritual being who has a conscious mind and a subconscious mind and an unconscious mind. Animals also are spiritual beings who have multi-levels of their mind. And it is on those other levels beyond the conscious that human beings and animals can communicate with each other. I'm very pleased today to have my friend Barbara Morrison as a guest. Barbara is a well-known animal psychic and also an author of a new book that's just coming out. So the title of our topic today is Communicating with Animals. The name of the show is Living Wisdom, and I'm Patty Paul. Barbara, I'm so happy to have you as a guest on the show today.
Thank you.
Several years ago, you were a wonderful conduit of information for me, communicating with my wonderful cat who had just passed over to the other side. And I know that over the years, since you've been doing this kind of work, that you've collected a wonderful collection of stories. Mm-hmm. And I'd like you to start sharing some of those interesting stories with us today.
Okay. One I could start off was the behavior of a bird. I was called in because they had brought in many behavioralists, and nobody was to identify why this bird was acting this way. It in fact was a cockatoo, and it would put things under its arm and put it down and start to talk and talk and talk, and it would lift its wing and drop it. And it's a very unusual behavior for a bird. Come to find out that the husband would pass the bird cage on his way out to get the newspaper. He'd come back with the newspaper under his arm. He'd chat, 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 and then he'd put it down on the table. So the bird saw this particular mannerism and copied that accordingly. That was interesting.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm. They're real mimics. Another experience was a German Shepherd, and I had an occasion to talk to this German Shepherd, and the question was, what do you think of people? And her answer was, they keep bothering me because they keep wanting to talk to me. And really what I would like to be would be a bird, a duck, in the middle of a pond where nobody could reach me to talk to me. And so I asked the owner, that sounded very unusual, especially I didn't see any pond, and I happened to be right there on the premises, and they said, yes, if you look beyond the horse stalls, there's a pond out there. And every once in a while there's a duck that sits on it, and she sits there by the hour watching this duck.
Longing to join it.
Exactly, to get away from communicating with people.
Oh, that's amazing. Now I'm thinking of how often I talk to my cats at home.
But normally most animals enjoy the interaction, and they enjoy the one-on-one and the exchange of the energy as it was.
Mm-hmm. That's so fascinating. Do people sometimes call you when they have difficult problems with their animals?
Yes, I get calls if the behavior is inappropriate, if they're attacking for some reason, and they're started off being behavior started off with a very small little poodle. That if a friend would reach over to touch this lady, this dog would attack, and it was very uncomfortable because it was hurting her friendship with other people. So we had a consultation, and in fact it went back to, interestingly enough, as if we believe in past lives, this life that this little poodle was reacting was when it was a cheetah with a beautiful, huge iron collar, and this owner, same energy, this cheetah would stand beside her, and the instructions were to this cheetah to protect under all costs.
Oh.
So this little poodle moved forward in its life and its evolvement as its soul grew, and it grew into a small body to start to tone this particular behavior down. And so the result of it was that I asked her to talk to the animal, tell the animal that it wasn't necessary anymore to guard her. Things were a lot safer now than they were before, and that she would be fine, and if she needed help, she would definitely ask for it. And it did help. He did tone down.
Oh, that's a wonderful story, and it's a valuable one for us to hear, all of us who love animals and have them for pets. It also is an example of how past lives can have a heavy influence not only on humans, but also on animals.
Very much so. In fact, in my new book, there's a story about a horse, Arrow, and this owner was working in horse rescue, and in fact, she found this horse after he really needed rescuing, and he came into the rescue, and he was probably around 20 years old at this time, and tears came to her eyes. She didn't know, but she just knew she was connected to this horse. And right away, the emotional body can react to finding a friend that you knew from before.
Yes.
And she called me because he was down in the pasture. And his spirit was there, but his body couldn't get him up. And so I told her that, I explained to her what I was feeling was that there was something wrong with the spine. His spirit was there, he was eating, he was drinking, but he couldn't lift his big body, and he was very big. And as a follow-up recently, I've talked to her, and that night she went out because she had stayed with him till the vet came so he could pass on gracefully. And there was a lump in the spine.
Oh, yes.
So it was compromised, as it were. And but it's a story that every time I think about it brings tears to my eyes, because
yeah, I can see that.
Yes.
It is touching.
I mean, people, you meet these friends that you've known from before, and you don't know how that happens or what the interaction is, but this particular horse has now put her on her path, her path of metaphysical path. So it's a gift that they come in and they help to direct us, as it appears, to getting on our path.
You know, that's something I've learned more and more about over the years, is this loving and cooperative connection that pets and other animals have with human beings. And I know of, a number of examples of that myself. Perhaps you could talk a bit more about that, how pets come to particular people for specific reasons.
I can use my own experience, and that goes back many years when I got a dog from England. And about 4 years after I had him, he came down with epilepsy. And I pursued looking for alternative ways of helping him through life. And those alternative ways gave me such a wisdom, a knowledge that I had not had. Because I was searching for his ailment, I was also finding a way for my own. Because I was born with asthma, and I didn't want it anymore. It didn't work for me. And in the quest for him, I found my own answers. And so it was the kickstart he gave me to look into alternatives, research the material, try this out. They're very simple alternatives. And that's helped me in my life as well. And I find that other clients are the same way. The animals have come into their life because they needed to look at nutrition for the animal as well as themselves. They needed to look at emotional, how their emotions were, and to reevaluate those. And as they're reevaluating the animals, they can reevaluate their own. So it becomes this wonderful dance,
Yes.
as it were. We just don't realize it because they don't have voice. They don't say, okay, I want to eat right now, but they act as if the message comes across, I would like to eat right now. We all know that one real well.
What a friend of mine, an unseen friend by the name of Ophelia, had told me some time ago is that I could communicate with my pets through pictures. And when I try to do that from time to time, it does seem to get the communication going. They seem to understand in that way.
Absolutely. And every one of us can communicate with animals. It isn't, each one of us has that ability within us. It's getting quiet and then doing it. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to talk to your own animals because we have our thoughts and our agendas that get in the way. That's why it's so much easier for me to talk to clients than it is to talk to my own.
Yeah, we have our own emotions about our animals, and if we're concerned about something that's going wrong with them, a condition that they might have, our own emotions kind of get in the way of that clear communication, don't they?
They do. And we have preconceived ideas of what it might be. But when I start to work with a client, I ask the client not to tell me anything before because I would like to pick up my first impressions because they're not always the ones the client thinks that's the direction it should take or, aha, that's what it is. It might not be that. It might be because a lot of people are in tune with their animals, but so that's why I start off with not knowing anything so that I'm not feeding back what they told me, but in fact validating the energy and the animal that we're talking about, and then answering their questions or searching for where they are if they're lost, that type of thing. Absolutely.
Well, that's a perfect lead-in for me to ask if you would be kind enough to tap into one of my cats.
Certainly, I'd love to.
He's the most unusual cat,
Okay.
the one I have in mind. Would you like
Just
me
his
to...
name?
Tim is his name.
Tim. Okay, and your question, please.
Tim hasn't been eating too well lately, and I'm concerned if there's something that I could be doing differently, or if he's not liking the food I'm giving him.
As I'm tuning into the energy of Tim, I get a very, I'm feeling large cat. I'm feeling a strong cat, strong in personality, very self-determined, decides on his own agenda and carries it out, rather than being more subservient or I'll fit in or what would you like me to do. He, as I feel it, stands back, comes in and interacts when he feels like he wants to interact, and then he stays away. Is that Tim?
That's, yes, a very good description of Tim.
And so as you talked about why isn't he eating, I was feeling upset in my stomach. Sometimes I get pictures, sometimes I get sounds, sometimes I get sensations. Sometimes they just tell me flat out, which is great too, my guides. But as I'm feeling it, I'm feeling like there's a lot of discomfort in his stomach, and I don't feel it's painful, more nausea.
That is one of the things. Tim does have a habit of, shall we say, contributing hairballs on the rug frequently, and I imagine there's some nausea or something related to that.
Yeah, I'm not
Not
picking up. No, it could very well be that. I'm not getting defined. Is it the hairballs or is it what he's eating? I don't feel like it's what he's eating. His food, his regular diet. I don't feel like it's that. So, as you say, hairballs. That feels more appropriate.
And I also give him a little pot of grass, natural sprouts and things.
So that's the enzymes. If the grass is wide enough, it will help to purge the material that's inappropriate for his particular system.
Wide enough, did you say?
Wide grass.
Oh, wide, yes.
I know many oftentimes seen our animals go out there and eat different grasses. They eat them for different reasons.
Oh, that's good to know.
Sometimes just to eat it because it's nutritional and they're enjoying it. Other times to purge, as it were. That's a natural way for them, and so this might be his natural way. There are, you might add a little more oil to his diet so that maybe it would purge a little bit more before it gets into a ball. He's has a nice coat.
Yes.
So I appear he's very stately. Yes.
Yes.
And so that would be, there's some products on the market that, you might check out to see if one of those would work for you. Or off the top of my head, I don't know of the holistic alternative for that. But you might check that out as well. And
it seems to me in years past with another cat I had purchased a product for that very thing, and was kind of an oil base that you'd put on their paw so that they'd lick it off and ingest it that way. Maybe I'll give that a try.
So olive oil would be a nice oil to ingest, and it's heavy, and it would take some time to get it off.
That's a good idea.
So that it would be, that might be adding a little bit. So too much might cause probably the opposite direction or reaction of what you want. So you'll know to just kind of check on him and see how he's doing with the amount that you're giving him. But as I feel it, I don't feel that his health is in jeopardy. I feel he's strong and I feel he's healthy. But I feel that he gets this upset, and that's, as I feel it, what's going on
That
there for
is,
him.
yes, I've had the evidence from that.
Oh, okay.
So I think you really have tapped into a clear connection with Tim.
Thank you.
Just one more thing.
Sure.
I know he has an unusual background prior to this life. Can you get a hit on what that is?
The first thing that comes to me is medieval times. And as I feel that he was involved with somebody who was involved with Wicca.
Oh, I see.
And I get a strong sensation of that, and that he was actually the guardian. And as the Wicca was being used in this particular lifetime, it was something that was not open. So you practiced your Wicca more to yourself and not to the people around you, because it was a fearful time for that, and that he would sit up high and he would guard.
Oh.
And he would voice people approaching.
Oh, like a watch
Exactly.
animal.
Exactly. And so he was involved in that energy, and he loved it. He really did. It made him feel quite powerful, actually.
Oh.
He liked having this job. And he sometimes, as I feel it, still does that for you. He is out there observing. He sits in high places and he observes what's going on, and maybe you'll notice a little bit now as to his communication to you. Somebody's close by or somebody's coming to let you know. But as I feel it, that's what the strong part of what I tap into for him. I'm sure he's had many other lifetimes, because as I've been taught through our many master teachers such as Ophelia and Lazarus and Robert Petro, that we evolve from the mineral kingdom to the plant kingdom to the animal kingdom. And we've all spent time there.
Yes.
And then after that move into the human kingdom. So we relate more to one animal than the other, because possibly we were more that animal in that kingdom, coming and going again and again. It's not necessarily was it a lifetime as a deer. Could have been many lifetimes as deer or bear or badger or cat or dog. As the soul needs the experience, then it would move into those particular energies to fulfill that experience, like a basket, like a dowry. And as you gain things, you put them in the basket, and you have a fuller dowry as I see it. So that's how I see the soul evolving, it moving into new experiences.
As a matter of fact, the book I wrote, A New Spirituality Beyond Religion, in one of the early chapters, I do talk a bit about how that evolution of consciousness takes place in the way you've described. And so my book is available in libraries and other places. And Barbara, let's mention your book that I believe you've just finished writing.
Actually, I have. It's in pre-release right now. It'll be available March 2001. And I talk to the animals, it's how it works, and different stories so that people could understand how this communication works with different people and how we interact and intertwine so tightly with each other. And it'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, it'll bring up the metaphysics in you, and that's what it's to do. It's just a story to touch the different emotions and to give people an idea of all the wonderful experiences that I have through the clients that have come this way.
Yes, I can see how that would help people who love animals, but perhaps are not aware of the higher truths about the connections that animals and humans have. How a book like that might open their mind a bit more to the possibilities.
Exactly. And some of us are visual, some of us learn by sound, and some of us do very well by reading. So that's why it's in this particular form rather than in a talking form. Yes.
Well, as a writer, I relate also to written material myself, and I know lots of us do. Interesting story, a brief one that I'd like to share with you and just get your feedback on it. I recently had a small dinner party at my house, and a close friend of mine came with her new friend. I'll call her Mary, and her new friend I'll call Jim. Jim, very interesting man, and his father was a veterinarian. Had a very interesting career as a veterinarian, but when Jim was just a small boy, the father began his veterinarian business in a small town in Wyoming. And because Jim, a little boy that he was, had small arms, his father often called upon Jim to help deliver baby animals as they were being born, like a goat, by reaching up inside of the animal if there was difficulty in the birthing process and helping to pull the animals out. Well, a very interesting stories like that Jim shared with me, but shortly after dinner, Jim announced that he had to get out of my house because he was so allergic to my cats. And my cats had not been in the house. I had kept them outdoors. And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry you're allergic to cats." And he said, "No, I'm actually allergic to all animals." And I said, "When did that start?" And he said, "Well, when he was getting to be a teenager is when he suddenly, or over a short period of time, became allergic to all animals." Now, with my understanding, I could sense what was going on and why that happened. We have just a few minutes, but maybe you could give me your take on that.
Well, my take on that is I feel as if he enjoyed working with his father, but the animals took much too much time away from him, Tim. And the father dedicated his time to the animals. Yes, he could come and he could help, but it still wasn't one-on-one with his father. And so it might be that he was allergic to the animals because that's I don't do people as well, but there's a process in there, and I'm sure you could speak about it, that in fact comes in there that it's a rebellious type of thing within the inner workings of himself that's caused this.
Yeah, that makes what you said about the father devoting so much time to animals makes sense. And another piece of it that I saw was that for a small child it would be quite traumatic to participate in the delivery of an animal.
Certainly so.
He was only about 5 or 6.
Oh.
And probably it brought up a lot of emotions for him that as that young child he couldn't deal with. And so perhaps over time in a subconscious way he made sure the child was protected by never having to participate in that kind of activity again. What better way but to become allergic
Right.
to all animals.
And put up a complete wall as he's put up.
So we certainly have a lot to learn about
Don't we?
how we relate to animals, how they relate to us. And Barbara, I want to thank you again.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
You've helped so much to demonstrate and to give examples of how we relate to animals. The love and the cooperation that we share with animals is a beautiful thing. And I'll look forward to reading your book.
Thank you.
When I
Yes,
get
indeed.
a copy of it.
Indeed.
And I want to definitely invite you to come on again,
Well, thank you.
be a guest. We'll have plenty of things to talk about.
Yes, I'm sure we.
So I also want to thank the audience for their attention. And I want to say goodbye to Barbara and goodbye to the audience until the next time.